A lot of exploitation of the women in the group, right? They were being sexually exploited. We can't take Malcolm's militancy and not take his morals. The next stage of the struggle will require that we keep the militancy, but we bring the morals too. We must bring the morals. Because if you go back and study, and we did it, when we came of age in the early 80s, we went back to study. How did they destroy the movement like they did? Because we saw it change. We grew up in one era, and we saw it change to another era. And you know what the main change was? Everything got corrupt. Everything was corrupted. That's the main change that we saw. There was unity, it went to disunity. There was strong relationship between the men and the women, the brothers and the sisters. There was families were strong, and so on and so forth. We began to see a change. Like I said, the music was pure. We began to see a change. We went from the Black Panthers and Malcolm and Martin and Muhammad Ali to pimps and pushers and drugs and gangs and guns. We saw it change. And so when we got older, we said, let's see what happened. And if you look and see what happened, how these groups were destroyed, how the movement was destroyed. It was destroyed primarily one way, and we noticed it. They corrupted everything. They corrupted leaders, they corrupted communities, they corrupted organizations, they corrupted everything. And what did that tell us? While we were looking at this, and we saw what was being done, we concluded if they're corrupting everything, they're letting us know what their Achilles heel is. If they're corrupting everything, they're letting us know what they fear the most. If they're corrupting everything, that means what they fear the most is righteousness. The opposite of corruption is righteousness. The opposite of corruption is like ethical behavior, being ethical. That's the opposite. They corrupted things. They corrupted leaders. They corrupted everything. It was a common theme everywhere. They would look at a leader. I'm talking about the FBI. They would look at a leader and try to find a weakness. What is he like? He likes money. Give him money. What is he like? He likes drugs. Give him drugs. What is he like? He likes cutie pies. Give him a cutie pie. What is he like? He likes fancy titles. Give him a fancy title. They would do psychological assessments on leaders, organizations, find a weakness in their character and exploit that weakness. Do not take Malcolm's militancy without taking his morality. Malcolm was very strict about his morals and his moral character. He was very strict.
Everything I leave behind is
One woman came up to Malcolm and told him that she was finished typing up the papers. He could come by later and pick them up. So Malcolm sent somebody else to go pick them up. Alex Haley. Brutes. Malcolm sent Alex Haley to go pick up the papers. And Alex Haley said when he got there, when she came to the door, he said she was visibly disappointed. And Malcolm told him, you go. I gotta be purer than Caesar's wife. That's an old saying. I gotta be purer than Caesar's wife. You go pick up the papers. One cutie pie tried to get next to him in London when the students invited him to London. And this cutie pie tried to get next to him. And Malcolm iced her. He just ignored her. He just iced her. And the student who he was with told her, I told you, he's a spiritual man. He's spiritual. He don't play that. You know, that kind of thing, right? But she didn't believe him. He told her once, and she didn't believe him. And so she went ahead and tried, and Malcolm iced her. And he said she couldn't believe. He said because she was actually very pretty. He said it. The book is called Ghosts in Our Blood. He said she was actually very pretty. He said, but she could not believe that there was a man who was not given to her seductions. He said she couldn't believe it. But I told her, he's spiritual. He don't play that. So Malcolm had a discipline about himself. He brought that discipline, that moral discipline, along with his militancy. And lastly, I'll say this, and particularly to you all in general, and to my African American brothers and sisters in particular, Malcolm was a Muslim. Malcolm actually talked about the rise of Islam taking place. He talked about it. He anticipated the rise of Islam. Malcolm said things that did not come to fruition until like 10 or 15 years later. The whole concept of reverse discrimination, this is racism in reverse. Malcolm said in 1965, they're going to hit you with the concept of racism in reverse. He said it in 1965. He said it's a tricky logic. It's a tricky. In 1975, that's when the attack on affirmative action began. led by the Zionists. Can't forget the Zionists. So, Malcolm was saying it's only a matter of time before the United States is run out of Vietnam. They were run out of Vietnam. Malcolm called us Africans in 1965. That's what you and I are. We're Africans. Now we're just catching up. African Americans. And see, for y'all non-black people, that's serious business for us. We was Negroes, we was colored, we was all kinds of things. We was black, and now we're associating, aligning ourselves with Africa. That's huge. Malcolm said that in 1965. Malcolm was a Muslim. And so as you see what's happening today, as the United States has declared war on the Muslim world, it's not a war on terrorism, it's a war on Islam. Just like it's not a war on drugs, it's a war on black people. They'll come up with these fake titles to actually hide their true designs. The war on drugs is actually a war on black people, whereby they're putting as many black people, particularly young black males, in jail as possible. Do you know why they're doing that? Because they know another social upheaval is coming. And when they looked in the 60s and did studies, they said the model, the common profile of the person in the street is a young black male. That's what they said. That was the Kerner Commission. They said that was a common profile of the person in the street. It was a young black male, and ever since that time, they have stepped up and intensified their efforts to put as many young black males in jail as possible. So the war on drugs was an excuse to do that. The war on terrorism is a war on Islam. Malcolm tried to align African Americans. Part of his foreign policy was to align African Americans with the Muslim world. We are natural allies. Black folks and Muslims are natural allies. That's why black folks and Muslims get along so well. Because right now, Muslims in America, politically, Muslims are black people now. All you Muslims here, y'all black. Politically. Not racially, but politically, y'all all black. Y'all with us. Right? And Malcolm felt, see, that's how I see George Bush is so dumb. The things he does to try to keep things from happening, well, actually cause it to happen. So he's bringing together different people. He's bringing together different people that will eventually is going to help bring down the empire. He's doing that, but he's dumb. He's arrogant. He's arrogant. Right? So this war on terrorism is a war on Islam. Go back to Malcolm. You have to know that you cannot take a position against the Muslims. Islam is all in our culture. It's in our history. So therefore, checking back with Malcolm and looking at his analysis, you have to know that this war against Islam, that black folks, and all people of conscience in particular, but black folks actually in particular, should align themselves with those Muslims, whether they are in Africa, whether they are in Asia, whether they are in Europe or the United States. Align yourself with those Muslims who are standing up against U.S. imperialism, U.S. oppression. Because to not do so, not only will you be standing on the wrong side of history, but you'll be going against Malcolm. You'll be going against Malcolm. And you can't go against Malcolm. I'll stop right there. Thank you very much. Peace be upon you. Assalamu alaikum.